Hey guys, it's Mo Power again. Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone had a great Christmas, great New Year's. Hopefully everyone partied responsibly. Anyway, I am back. Had a little bit of time off with holidays and family and whatnot, but I've been getting a lot of requests for what builds I use for farming 25 plus hard modes. Everyone gets to that point, and then either they don't know how to build because they've just been playing in multiplayer, or they just they want like a real efficient build, something quick and easy to set up. I mean, 25 plus hard modes aren't necessarily very hard at all. You have plenty of DU and mana and whatnot, but I've come up with a few builds that I use, and I'm going to show those to you today. I'll probably start off with Squire build, then I'll show the Apprentice on Throne Room, and then I'll probably show you guys another build I use for Ramparts as well. I'm going to talk about stats. What you're going to want to be most efficient is a Boost Monk, and then either a Squire or an Apprentice. You can use either, they both work just fine. I prefer the Squire, but that's just me. Apprentice does really well as well. As far as stats go, this guy is not that great. He's only a little over 1100, but he is running 3 items with the boost aura defense damage increase mod. You can get that on the weapon, the helmet, and the medallion as well. So you pretty much just stack pure power and then try to get those boost aura mods. There's a couple legendaries that I could get for this guy. I haven't seen him drop yet, but that could make his power pretty high. But as it is, he has plenty of boost. My stats are overkill for what you need here. You can really do the 25 plus hard modes with probably around 700 stats without a problem. But this guy's probably my least geared. 800, 900. I find keeping the speed higher. About 800 is a good spot to shoot for, and then start dumping into speed. And his stats or his gear isn't that great either. I do have the increased range, which is nice, and then also have the flame burst tower mod, so that's something nice to have. I guess it's a level 24. It's not bad. But I do have 3 items that have the Flame Burst mod on them, which is nice. Tower and speed gear, roughly. As far as specs goes, most people just dump everything into Fireball. But personally, sometimes I hop into lower end games to help people, or I'll just be in 25 plus, and I like to let other people build so they can try out new things. My stats are a little bit overpowered, really, so I try to help out. But when I'm playing this guy, I like to drop some freeze to help out, and that really doesn't skew things too much, just having a couple freeze auras or freeze towers. But I found the diminishing returns, I stopped it at 26, and then that way I can get 56, almost 57% chance of a frozen. I found that works out pretty well. I don't use freezes all that often anymore, but I will show you in the build that I do use freezes, because I'm trying to think of people with lower end stats as well. My Squire, he's sitting at a little over 800, 950. He's probably one of my better geared guys just because of his weapon. He got lucky and got a legendary sword with 106 speed, so it's pretty good. I try to run the additional projectile range, which is nice. I haven't found a real good one with speed, power, range, and like a ballista or cannon mod. I just haven't seen it yet. This guy does have a cannon on it, but his gear is not that great. This one has a ballista mod, but he's spec'd pure into powerful spears just because he's been using a lot of ballista lately. I haven't noticed a big difference from spec'ing in here versus not, but really, as a pure builder, what's your other options? So, let me show you the Squire build real quick, and then I'll make another video for the Apprentice. I don't want to make the videos too terribly long, so want to allow people just to hop in, see the build, try it out, and then move on. So I'll put a link in the video to the apprentice video if you're watching this one and want to watch the apprentice build instead. So this is pretty simple. All you're doing is dropping 2 boost auras on the monk. I would suggest playing multiplayer, and that's one thing that most of the builds I've seen out there, you know, people are like, oh yeah, I can do it with, you know, only a little bit of DU and all this stuff. Yeah, that's all fine and great, but it doesn't work in 4-player. The health ramp ups for multiplayer is a lot higher than single player. So they brag about their builds, but then they can't replicate it in 4-man. So here, if you have lower stats, I would suggest running 3 across the back, and I upgrade them twice just to give them some more range. Towers suffer a lot from range when you're first starting off, so I find 2 upgrades is kind of the sweet spot. Anything less than that, and you're going to struggle a little bit. So that's another benefit of running less towers. You have more mana. So I just upgrade all these to 2, and again that just gives it the range, and I have a little bit extra mana to do that. So this is the completed build. If you do have, you know, lower stats, like I said, depending on how low your stats are, you could try running 3 on this side, 3 on this side, maybe like 2 cannons possibly. That's up to you. It really depends on if you're lacking in the multi-mob killing, like you're just getting too many mobs through, and that's when you need more ballista, or if you're lacking on the DPS to kill the mini ogres, or not the mini ogres, the mini bosses or the ogres. That's really up to you. You're just gonna have to experiment. If your stats are really low, what you could do is do something like this, but in each lane, and I would put the aura right here, and you could put a couple geyser traps there, and I could thin it out. Or if you don't have a hunter, in each lane drop 2 electric auras with a boost, boosting both of them. That's going to really thin out all the smaller mobs, so it makes it a lot easier. But I found when you're farming 25++ hard modes, you want something that is easy to set up, not requiring a bunch of different characters swapping in and out. Something that's AFKable for most part, that's not going to, you know, take up a lot of time. So, and this right here I found is the easiest build. I can build quicker than this solo, but really the drop rates, you're gonna want to play multiplayer. The drop rates in solo are pretty crappy compared. To me it seems like it's almost a 25% increase on drops for each person you add. So it's good to have, you know, those other guys in there. So I would suggest if you can do it. And this build, when I had, you know, roughly I think 800 tower, 800 speed, I was able to do this no problem with the with 4 players. So I haven't ran into any issues with it, and my stats are a lot better than they were before. But you could easily do this with I would say you could do 25++ hard mode with probably somewhere around 700 in each stat if you use the auras to thin them out. You can get away with it, and you can run, instead of the ballista, if you're using auras in the lanes to thin them out, you can swap out the ballista for cannons, because the stuff that's going to be making it through is going to be larger, high health mobs and mini ogres and whatnot. But the cannons work a lot better for single target DPS. I mean, this thing's only upgraded once and it does 4,800. This thing's upgraded 3 times and it's doing 4,700. So they just tend to work better. And I really like cannons. The chance to stun is pretty nice, but it's really not needed. But ballista work great if you're not using the auras. It just helps to thin out the mobs. So I like to get in, get it done quick, and if you do have a friend, I suggest making friends instead of trying to run with randoms. My experience with the randoms has been pretty up in the air. Sometimes it's alright, but a lot of times I'll meet people that are just, you know, internet trolls that just try to get stuff for free, just AFK the whole time. They don't drop mana, they don't help. They make you, you know, sit and wait, and it's just a hassle. Each wave, you know, if you're having to wait, yeah. That's another thing, when you're upgrading, it turns off the tower, so be careful if there's mobs coming like that. I don't remember what I was saying now. But in general, you know, try to play with 4 players. If you've got, you know, 1 or 2 AFKs, I think it's like a 75-second wait each wave, and that really adds up if you're having to do that every single wave if someone's AFK. So I would suggest finding friends, you know, and if you have someone that's got a boost monk, since they're pretty easy to gear, have them drop the boost, and then you just drop everything else in your squire, and it'll go a lot quicker for you. So, hey, finally got a mythic item drop. As I found solo, I average maybe 1 or 2 if I'm lucky per wave or per map, and they're normally pretty shitty like that. As I'm sitting right now, the only thing that's really gonna be an upgrade would be a mythic item with a good mod on it, with tower and speed, or a legendary. But yeah, I've pretty much been just running with 4 players. Just the drops are a lot better. So yeah, this is pretty much the build. I really don't have to have any sort of interaction, you know, once you have at least, like, say 100 speed. But you should be able to, with decent, say like level 23 or better epics with tower and speed, and a good weapon with speed on it. If you can't find a speed one, get one with power. But you should be able to get close, you know, at least say 700, 750, if not 800 power just off your gear without putting the upgrades into the power. So then you can spend your upgrades into speed, which will help out a lot. As it is, since I just try to speed run this, I try to get everyone hitting G right off the bat, and we can upgrade during the waves. It's normally not an issue. And then when I'm done, I'll upgrade the boost as well, just for the sheer hell of it. I normally have everything to star by the end of wave 3, so then I just start upgrading these. Don't really need to, but it does add a little bit more DPS. I mean, because right now, these are 11.8, and I can get them up to 12.6, I think. So they do pretty well. But, you know, a lot of people ask, you know, why are you putting so many points into speed? Why don't you just stack power and you know, hit really hard? Well, you know, most of the time you're going to be, especially if you're using cannons, you're going to be pretty much 1 or 2 shotting just about everything that comes through, especially if you're using like auras. Which, if you're using cannons, I suggest using auras, just because cannons only hit 1 mob at a time. So since you're naturally hitting fairly hard anyway, especially once they go through the auras, there's really no point in having that overkill. You know, if the mob has, you know, 5,000 health and you're hitting for 20,000, you know, you can still get that done with 15,000 damage. You know, so it's you got to find the sweet spot. I'm shooting for trying to get to 900 power and like 1,000 speed. That's kind of what I'd want to shoot for. But as I've found, I've got plenty of stats for doing this and being able to AFK it and just, you know, not really think about it. And it's just a farm fest. At in game, you're just hoping for those good drops, and 4-player really helps quite a bit with the chances. But it's RNG, so you really don't know what you're gonna see till you get out there and start farming it. You could get lucky. I've seen people that have gotten you know, 2 legendaries in the same wave before, you know, stuff like that. And I know they're going to be adjusting the loot a little bit now that they're coming back from the holidays. I heard some stuff in one of the dev streams about messing with the loot, and there's some interesting stuff. I don't remember all the details, but I suggest watching that video on the homepage. But the other thing that's nice with running this kind of build here is you have nothing that slows down the mobs. They're just coming as quickly as they can walk to you. You don't have any, earth shatter towers or ice towers slowing them down. So I do. I will show in my apprentice build with the fire, or excuse me, with the ice. Well, this guy got stuck. Every once in a while, I found that this area right here will get stuck sometimes. Sometimes I'll get stuck up there as well, but it just depends. I haven't really shown you killing the mini bosses, so we can watch this one. Wave 5 mini boss. Yeah, he didn't he didn't make it very far. With 4 players, he'll normally get to like right about here normally. So, but I also don't have this started yet. So, but on average, on an average game, I don't. I might get a hit 1 or 2 times by a spear thrower, and that's 90% of the time because someone's standing like right here, and a spear thrower throws at them, and they move, and it hits that. Normally, the range of the ballista are pretty good. If you're also having problems with the ballista, I would suggest instead of using that 50 mana on this, after you get those all to 2, before you do that, like when you're on your monk, when you drop this, upgrade it once so it gives you a little bit more range. So you can scoot these out just a little bit farther. So that might help you if you're finding out that even at level 2 you're having some issues with range, which you really shouldn't, because I'm only running I think 13% range, which isn't really that much. So if they had range on more items where you could increase it more, that'd be nice. I mean, it's like I think it's like the equivalent of maybe half or 3/4 of an upgrade, as far as range goes. So it's not huge, but it does help. And since the stat is out there, I try to use it if I can. But yeah, so right now I've got 12.6k on my towers. They're hitting for 7,500, which is pretty decent. These guys are at 6,500 DPS, and they're hitting for 5,200. So they do all right. But like I said, you don't need these stats to do this. I just didn't feel like taking off my gear to do the build. So, if worst comes to worst, if your stats are lower, you can stack some more towers in here. You do have plenty of mana. The downside is if you're playing with randoms, a lot of people don't like upgrading or won't pick up their chests, things of that nature. So far I've gotten 2 mythics, I think. Where's the other one? Oh, it's up there. Which is not bad actually. A lot of times I get less than that. So let's see how far this ogre gets. Yeah, he's not getting very far. But that ogre gets a lot more health in 4 players, so that's something to keep in mind. But I really dislike the guys that are out there making videos and go, oh yeah, look at my Uber build, and my great stats. And that's fine and dandy to show what's possible, but most people out there, especially if they're looking for videos, aren't going to have those stats. And just because it works in solo doesn't mean it's going to work with multiplayer. So something to keep in mind, especially if you're trying out any of those builds and it's crap. Any of those builds and you're not able to do it, like the video shows. That's the reason, because they normally have pretty uber stats and they're able to do it solo but not multiplayer. So don't play solo if you have the ability to. When you first start off, you can to learn your builds, but I would suggest playing multiplayer. Make some friends, have some fun. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to do the apprentice one next, so make sure to check that out.